What's up guys, this is Ice from Team Magma and welcome to the Magma Podcast. In today's video, we'll be discussing a few hot NFT topics such as the whitelist acquisition meta, how influencer opinions are affecting investors, the biggest wins we've ever missed, NFT tools that are taking the spotlight, and how zero royalties are shaking up the NFT space. Now, whether you're interested in just one or all of these topics, make sure you watch the whole video as we'll be revealing a secret code somewhere in the podcast that you can use to double your chances of winning some USDC cash prizes over on our Twitter page at magma_NFT. Simply navigate to the tweet that is connected to this video, follow the instructions on the tweet to enter our raffle, and add the secret code in your comment to double your chances of winning. Now then, let's get into it. Our featured guest speaker for today is our very own business administrator and general manager of Team Magma. Please give a warm welcome to Berries. How are you doing today?
Thank you. Great to be here. How are you?
I'm doing great, thank you. Sorry to drag you up so late in the night. I know that you were probably getting ready to go to bed, but yeah, I'm glad we're doing this right now.
Oh, Web3 never sleeps. It's all right.
That's so true. Our first topic, it's one of the most interesting topics that we actually had, which is the acquisition of Whitelist. Back then, we've seen people do the Discord grinding, like leveling up, spamming good morning, hello, good nights. And then now we've shifted towards more of an application-based meta. Which Whitelist acquisition style do you actually find more interesting right now?
To be honest, I think both are starting to take a toll on the mentality of a lot of people in the space. I personally like a whitelist meta at the very beginning of the meta. As someone who entered the space 1.5 years ago, I started at the very beginning of the Discord grinding meta. The first project I joined, which is called Uninterested Unicorns, where I met a lot of really good friends in the space. In that first project I joined, we were actually trying to grind for whitelist spots by leveling up on Me6, and we were talking in the server nonstop. It was like nearing the end of COVID, but we were still not really going out. Everyone was still kind of hesitant on being out in restaurants, cafes. So we were all kind of craving that social aspect of life that we haven't had for such a long time. And therefore, we actually really enjoyed spending time together, whether it be on a virtual platform like Discord. It was really, really fun. And I honestly met a lot of amazing people, which some of them I still talk to, I'm still in touch with. When that meta first started, I think people were actually quite happy being on Discord, talking to each other, having genuine conversations. But then somewhere along the way, a few months in, it started to become GMs, spams, and basically superficial conversations where people were actually tired, very tired of having to be on Discord 24/7, having to level up, having to constantly have something to talk about, and where they have started to kind of become mentally drained by all of that. So something that actually began as a very healthy thing maybe for a lot of people who haven't had a social aspect to their life during COVID started to get very toxic and very draining. So I feel the same about the current whitelist meta that we're experiencing, which includes the Twitter grinding, where people constantly feel the need to create posts on Twitter that are designed to get whitelist spots that are creative, but at the same time, it's not something that reflects their souls, but it's something that they create in order to get the whitelist spot. And I think that is very similar to working a job that you don't actually enjoy. Creating something, creating art, creating memes, anything that you don't actually feel passionate about, but you feel like you have to do to get that whitelist spot. Similarly, for applications, I believe at this point, people are either just skipping them entirely, or if they apply, they are trying to come up with strategies on what to say that will get them the whitelist spot, like what best to talk about that will get them the whitelist spots. And honestly, I think when they see that people who clearly didn't pay as much attention to their application get accepted, in general, let's say people who are well known, who have a name in the space, when the, I believe, general public or an average trader sees that those people get in without actually putting in the effort that they have put in, I think it's becoming even worse. And this is where we are over time. Like when it first began, it was exciting, it was interesting and different. But at this point, it's repetitive, it's pretty boring for a lot of people and mentally draining.
I absolutely agree with you. Whether it's the Discord grind or the application meta, to put it short, the novelty wore off, right? Like in the very beginning, it was fun, meeting new people in Discord, shooting random messages around, making friends. That was fun. But then, like you said, when it becomes a job, it really doesn't become fun anymore. Especially when there's companies with cubicles and hundreds of people that are being paid specifically to say things like GM, good night, hello. And it's true, right? Like they'll pay like hundreds of people to do this, and then they'll acquire those whitelist spots. And back in the bull market, whitelist spots were basically currency because it almost guaranteed profit at that time.
Discord grinding was actually probably the worst way of acquiring a whitelist spot. It was worse than Twitter grinding or the application meta, because when you're trying to get a whitelist spot through Twitter, you're just simply creating several posts, creating art or something similar. And the amount of time that takes is maybe a few days. The same goes for the applications. You just take maybe a few hours of your day to write that application. But at the time, the Discord grind was taking days and days and weeks. I remember people who were in servers speaking to people for months that couldn't even get the whitelist spot. That was because, like, normally in this bear market, if you ask people to do that, they would laugh at your face. No one would do it. Because, as you've said, during the bull market, one whitelist spot meant currency, meant a lot of profit. That's why projects were able to push people even further to do things that were even more damaging to their psychology. This is still better, but I'm afraid when the next bull market comes, they will come up with something even worse, most likely.
And it's kind of counterintuitive too, because the whole point behind the application meta is to allow founders to curate their community, right? Like for Valhalla, they wanted to build a video game centric community. So they made an application and really wanted to get as many video game players in. But the ironic part of that is that once you actually get in via an application, you don't engage with their Discord anymore. Once you have the whitelist spot, you just kind of leave it be and you figure out when the mint day is and then you go on with that. It's definitely an obstacle to reinvent and to innovate, and hopefully we'll see something new when the new bull market comes around.
Hopefully. And to be honest, I don't think you can curate a 10,000 people community by reading through applications. As you've said, building a community is different, especially when the supply is that high. Don't know who came up with the idea, but using applications for 10,000 people doesn't make a lot of sense in my head.
No, you're right. I absolutely agree with you. And you mentioned influencers earlier, so this is actually a fantastic segue into our second topic, which is how influencers' opinions are shaking up the space. So there's the good, there's the bad, there's the ugly. Where do you stand in all this with the influencers coming up on projects and giving their takes on it?
Yeah, thank you for going into that. So we had a little event in Magma just a few days ago, which was a networking event between the Llamaverse family and magma-pass holders. In the event, we had the topics that you've mentioned as topics that people can talk about. The consensus among all of us that joined the conversation was that influencers have a lot of responsibility. Honestly, if you have the power to influence the decisions of thousands of maybe tens of thousands of people, that should come with a certain degree of responsibility. And as long as you are honoring that responsibility, as long as you are careful, disciplined, and knowledgeable, I respect those people very, very much. I respect some influencers in the space a lot. I've learned so much from them ever since I got into Web3 and NFTs and even crypto. And honestly, they are doing God's work. Sometimes there are things that you can't really learn anywhere else besides the people who've experienced it firsthand, and sharing their experience with the public is something that they don't actually have to do, but they still do. And I really, really admire that. But once you start forgetting your responsibility, that's where things stop working. People start questioning your integrity, questioning your calls, decisions, your ideas. So I think if someone is influencing opinions, decisions, I think they should be really, really careful with how they display themselves, what they say, what they do. The consensus was that they should be very, very careful in how they communicate with their followers.
Especially because there are so many people listening or watching what these guys are doing. When things go good, it's very easy to jump on the bandwagon and be like, oh, this person's fantastic. But when things go south, it's also very easy to get bashed on very quickly. And as an influencer, you're under 10 times, 100 times more scrutiny than the average human being. We won't include this part in the video, but there's also influencers that are paid to do certain tasks. And I guess we shouldn't be naming any names, but we've all seen the damage that this can do to the space.
Honestly, I don't think everything is black and white. So if you listen to 1 to 5 influencers when you're making a decision and losing money over it, this is something that we all probably went through and we all probably did at one point in our Web3 journey. But that's where you should stop, take a look at yourself and think about what you actually did wrong. In this case, I think the mistake here is not learning about what you are doing yourself, relying on information and opinions of others instead of actually sitting down and researching, trying to become more knowledgeable in what you do. If there are people that you really trust, so for example, someone you're close to, someone you know, if there are people like that and you know that those people are experts and they are legitimate, you can certainly take a page out of their book and use their decisions and opinions to make decisions about your own finances. If you never actually start learning about it yourself, then you will be dependent on those people anyway. And the people in the space choose to depend on strangers that claim that they know everything about a certain topic instead of actually questioning it, instead of researching. So at this point in time, I cannot blame a specific person in situations where individuals lose money over a call or be exit liquidity. But at the end of the day, both parties have things that they need to think about, right? Both parties have a stake in all of it. It's not black and white. We certainly can't blame one or the other. What do you think?
I feel like the meme that's been going around the space, like do your own research, do your own research. How many of us actually takes the time to do our own research, right? Not many people do it. And at the end of the day, when you screw something up, it's so much easier to blame somebody else for your own mistakes, for your own mishaps, rather than, hey, if I only took the time to actually do my own research, then you know what? This mistake was on me and there shouldn't be anyone else that I'm blaming.
Then there are people who are actually aware that it's a pump and dump, for example.
Yes.
The community, the public actually know what is going on, what is happening, whether someone's paid, whether someone's doing it with malicious intent, and they still follow it because they think that the next person will be the exit liquidity and they can get away with it by being early, let's say. I don't know if we can just blame someone for everything, but everyone needs to have a certain degree of knowledge and experience in order to look out for themselves.
Definitely. And especially in times like these where it is a bear market, everyone keeps on saying we build in the bear. I think that while yes, devs building on certain tools and all that, that is great building, but something that us normal people can build is our own knowledge and education. In order to prepare ourselves for the next bull run, if you have nothing else to do, then build on yourself. Educate yourself and work on these things. And this is something that I truly believe in. Best of all, this is something that Magma and Magma Connect can help us achieve, because so many people here in Magma are founders, are team leads, project leads, collaboration managers, and community managers. There's so much knowledge and education that is part of Team Magma, then so much more than the surface that meets the eye. So if this is something that you guys are looking to get into, then I highly suggest picking one up at some point. Let us move on to the next topic, and that is, what are the biggest missed wins that you have ever come across, whether that's due to missing the mint or not submitting the wallets? Do you want to go first on this?
No.
Okay. So Let's talk about my screw ups over the past week. Missing the mint and wallet submission for Valhalla. So I was so excited for this project. I was incredibly excited when I got accepted. I joined their orientation. I joined their voice chat. I guess this is what we were talking about before, right? Once your application is in and all that excitement has subsided, you kind of forget about it. And that's exactly what happened with me. My application went in. I know I got the whitelist. And even though I know it's one of the best projects that's coming out, in the back of my mind, it just kind of slipped. And then I forgot to submit my wallet, and I was so upset in the morning of the mint day. I was probably depressed for a good week or so, I would say.
Can we also mention that you're part of the collab team in Magma and you are responsible for everything related to projects and information? You are the last person I would think would miss that. So honestly, next time I'm going to remind you. Really.
Oh, thank you.
Waiting for Whitelist Pink to come out so it reminds all of us instead of like relying on each other.
Did you want to talk about any specific wins that you missed?
Honestly, I think my brain just rather forgets. So give me a second to remember what I missed.
Oh, there's a whole list.
Oh, of course. Like I've been here for 1.5 years, just NFTs. I've missed so many things in the bull that when you think Valhalla is the biggest thing now where you profit like 1 ETH for 2 NFTs, I think I've probably missed like 2-3 projects similar to that. So whether it be the wallet submission or just the mint itself, I was living and breathing NFTs, but I still missed a few things. But let me talk about the one that I remember to this day, like yesterday. So I don't know if you remember Crypto Ducks. At the time, it was actually a different approach, but it was, again, sort of Twitter grinding. So you would react to their posts, you would engage with them on Twitter, and then they would, if you're lucky, they would invite you to their server, or they would like share invite links, and if you're lucky, you get in. So one of our close friends, we had like a small alpha server, and one of our close friends was able to get in. And the mint was going to be a stealth drop. So they would drop the link to mint and first come, first serve. And if you're lucky and on your computer at the time, you would be able to get the link and get your NFTs. So we were relying on him. We were like, okay, you're our guy. You have to just send us that link once they drop it in the server because we're not in the server. And they kind of announced that it was going to be that day, like on the day of. And I remember I'm home and my aunt was visiting and she was with me. I was on my computer the whole day. And then my aunt said, hey, let's have some coffee. And then I got up to make coffee and was away for around 10 minutes, I think. Like the whole day I was, and then it dropped at that time. And within those 10 minutes, obviously within the first minute, it was out of stock. When I went back to my computer and saw that, I was shocked. I think it was free or very cheap to mint. And then the floor price went all the way up to like 1.5 to 2 ETH. And you could get it, I believe, 2 to 3 per wallet. Yeah, that was one of my biggest losses at that time. It was crazy. Imagine the effect of that on your psychology. I still can't forget it. Like I still remember it like it was yesterday. That was one of my biggest losses. It's not related to forgetting anything, like forgetting to submit, forgetting to mint, but it's more so kind of being unlucky. I think that's like the biggest one.
I thought you were gonna say, and after that day, I've never talked to my aunt again.
Oh God, no, it wasn't about it. Like it wasn't her fault at all. I mean, I didn't even tell her about it, but I was just shocked. It wasn't like I was upset over it for days, but it was very shocking because I was super unlucky. And one of those stories that you tell when you're talking about something extraordinary. Like it was really, really strange.
Oh, wow. I'm going to remember that forever. Damn, that's a sad story to hear.
And when I say I was on my computer all day, that's not a joke. I never left, literally. Ever, like from waking up until that point, I was on my computer. It was insane. You know,
one bathroom break or one coffee break, you come back and the collection is sold out. I've been here for 48 hours.
I would take it to the bathroom. Are you joking? No, I wouldn't even leave for that. Oh my God. All jokes, but yeah.
Wow. Well, hopefully we can talk about something a little bit less depressing.
Oh, yeah.
So let's talk about some tools. So NFT tools, they're not exactly in the spotlight right now because of the bear. And obviously during the bull market, when there's hundreds of thousands of people competing to mint out a project, that's when these tools, analytics, and bots, that's when these tools truly take the spotlight. So right now, as part of Magma, we have a strong partnership going on with Timoth. And actually, I got the chance to speak with Lord Zenith yesterday during our call. And I got to learn a lot about what Timoth has to offer in comparison to other tools. You absolutely love Timoth, so why don't we start off with how you feel about Timoth and what makes Timoth better than the other tools that you've come across so far?
All right. So personally, I'm not a tool expert. Although I've been in the space for a long time, I was never that good at using tools and having like multiple wallets and trying to mint on all of them. You know the drill. I was more of a social trader. But personally, for me, what I've noticed with Timoth is that, first of all, the server never sleeps. So whenever you go to the Timoth server, you can always see people chatting about projects, talking about what's coming up next. And there is a community involved. That is, I think, a big plus. Besides that, it's the same for the team. So the team is always around, always present. The founder, the core team, everyone else, they're always around looking for the next mint that's going to be successful potentially. And they're always trying to bring the best projects to the community. Even in despair, they're still making profit. Look at their success channel. Like most people don't even post there. And I know I am in there a lot of times during the week and I see people minting things and making profit, maybe forgetting, maybe not posting. But what I've noticed is if they continue to be that present and take care of their community, it's not just a minting tool that you're getting, it's also a team of very good, very experienced developers, as well as experienced traders who are always looking out for the next best mint. So you don't even have to find the project yourself. You can rely on the team to bring you the projects too. They also take community opinion into consideration. And whenever you suggest a project, they literally prepare the bot to mint that project within a few hours, maybe even less sometimes. And they make sure that they're ready for that mint. You can just rely on the bot for your mint. If people can make profit in despair, imagine how it would be in a bull market. It would be definitely insane. And the thing is, they are constantly updating the tool and adding more features and utilities. I believe right now it's a minting tool, but in the future it will be a lot more. So yeah, I'm excited to see how it goes.
Zenith is actually telling me one of the things that he really liked about NFT nerds was their UI display. For example, the analytics coming up on the right side, and then the NFTs that are popping up either filtered by rarity or filtered by price would appear on the left side. That easy to access user interface is exactly the kind of interface that they're going for. And another part I really admire about their team is that they have it very well delegated. They have people that are constantly developing and working on upgrading the tool itself, and then there's people that are up there supporting the community for active mints currently going on. As you were saying, if people needed the Merkle code, if people needed to understand how to set up, if people needed to even understand how to log in because I've never used the tool before, they've got staff members that are there to help take care of you. And especially now that we're getting into a bit of a bear market, there's less of those support people actually needed. So instead, they funnel more people onto the development side. And Zenith is saying that he's seen a lot of tool-based projects starting to drop a ball a little bit. So instead of actively trying to develop the tool, they're actually just starting to let go of people because most projects are running out of money. So the next best thing that they can do is start to lay off employees, right? It's inevitable. They don't have a massive payroll to work with right now. Is that they can actually just focus on developing the tools all the way until the bull market is here. And by the time the bull market is already here, there's going to be people trying to copy and paste what Timoth has already achieved. But by then it's going to be too late. It's just kind of like how we see all these blue chip projects come out, and when they are successful, we see a lot of copycats. We see people doing copy and paste artwork, and then they rug and then they disappear. I feel like Timoth has armed himself to be in the situation where they will be the leading tool in the next bull run, and then there's going to be a lot of projects looking to copy and paste their structure, their UI, and all that.
Absolutely. I feel like they will always be a few steps ahead, and especially with how they work, even now, even before launch. As you've said, I feel like they will always be the blue chip that people are trying to copy but never are able to. So
Before we get on to the next topic, the secret code for this video is the volcano emoji. Make sure to add this emoji to your comment in the tweet in order to double your chances of winning. Personally, I would never pass up on a free cash prize. And if you're the same as me, then you must now like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. But yes, let's move on to our final topic for tonight, and that is zero royalties. Oh boy. So a lot of projects and platforms are talking about zero royalties as becoming a standard. Now, obviously, the majority of our NFT projects, they rely on royalties as a source of income. Flipping the switch and turning the royalties down to zero is going to immediately squash the majority of the income streams that these projects are going after. What do you think is going to happen to this space if zero royalties is actually a standard that will be adopted going into the future?
Oh God, I hope that doesn't happen. I think at this point, people are aware that it was a bad idea from the start. So I genuinely hope it doesn't happen. Then again, if they go that route, we will see a lot more NFT projects that run out of funds, that have trouble keeping up. So that's the last thing we want to see, because when someone invests in a project, if you consider that an investment, you want to see long-term results, and running teams, taking the time to create something, to continue a business requires money, requires funds. I don't think there's one single company in the world that doesn't generate any revenue in a whole year, let's say, except for maybe a startup that is in its R&D phase, that is actually not making any money, but building a product with the hope of making money from it in the future. What NFTs do is generate revenue at the beginning, but then there has to be something else to keep sustaining the entire business. I actually want to talk about a project that we had an AMA with before called Centurify, working to redefine the music industry in order to empower artists. How they came up with the idea and started the project is they noticed that the music industry was going down a black hole because of people buying concert tickets in advance or buying concert tickets in bulk and then selling them in the black market. So what happens there is that individuals buy concert tickets on their original prices, and then they sell them in the black market for extreme prices. So when they sell on the black market, that absolutely has no benefit to the artist that is performing. So what happens is that the artists get a cut from the initial tickets that were sold, but then when people continue selling them in the black market, artists get no revenue, no royalties from those tickets. And on top of that, we know that the artists actually don't even get like the full ticket price, but they get a smaller cut out of it, where a bigger cut goes to the venue and the studios. What the team noticed is that this causes a lot of new and inexperienced artists to actually not be able to continue their music career, since a big portion of the whole income goes to second, third parties. The artists aren't even able to sustain themselves with their careers, so they have to stop. So the team wanted to do something about that, and what better way to actually control the entire system than using blockchain for it, because everything stays in the blockchain. So they created this system where even if you like, the tickets are sold as NFTs or tokens on the blockchain. And when you purchase a ticket, if you try to resell it, there will always be a certain amount of royalties. And if you resell it, then those royalties will go back to the artists themselves. So that is an amazing example of actually how important royalties are. That's the type of innovation in the space that maybe we should admire and follow, rather than someone coming up and saying, okay, we will have zero royalties now, just in order to generate hype, in order to generate attention. We should learn to question things a little bit more before imitating them for no reason.
I'm kind of 50-50 on the topic, to be honest. Like, while I understand that zero royalties are obviously a problem because a lot of these projects, they can't sustain themselves without any royalties. But on the flip side, having the fear of zero royalties looming in the space kind of forced some projects to innovate themselves a step further. A lot of projects at the very beginning, when they got scared into the notion of having zero royalties, they actually started coming up with ideas that are a little bit more outside the box. So they came up with different revenue streams, right? Such as merch, such as subscription models, live events, tickets, etc. Granted, not all of these are going to work effectively, but I think that forcing founders to start to think in another direction on how they can generate funds for their project is a plus for the space in the long term of things. Obviously, in the short term, it's going to cause a lot of people to come up with failed ideas, and it's going to cause a lot of projects to go bankrupt. Part of the gauntlet, if you want to call it that. A lot of projects are going to fail, and a lot of projects are going to disappear after this bear market is over. And I feel like some of the projects that will emerge into the next bull market are going to be projects that have taken the full blunt of this zero royalty fear. And during this bear, they have actually started to work on other income streams that can help sustain themselves in the event that zero royalties were actually a thing. I'm not really sure if I support or I'm against it, but at the same time, I think that these projects that are coming up with innovative ways to make money because of the spark of zero royalties, I think these guys are taking this information and really running with it. And I think these guys will have some success going into the next bull run. What do you think?
That's an interesting approach. What you say is correct. I think an NFT project, or let's say a business, a Web3 business, shouldn't need that fear in order to actually think about generating revenue in other ways than just royalties. That is a push, as you've said. But then again, if you've founded a business and if you are providing something and if people find it valuable and continue buying your products, NFTs, going into the future, you should still be able to profit from the NFTs that were bought. For example, for any business that have products, when they sell the products, they get the profit from them. But in the case of NFT projects, the supply is limited. So once they sell all the supply, unless they come up with a new collection, then they're not making any profit from it anymore. But they continue providing value for those exact products. So they are not saying, okay, these are the products we've created and now we're done, so you can do what you want with it. If they said that, no one else would continue buying them. Mm-hmm. So even in the case of Bored Ape Yacht Club, which is currently one of the biggest NFT projects, even that team is still continuously growing, expanding, and creating. In my opinion, if the BAYC team disappeared all of a sudden, that collection wouldn't have the value that it has today. I feel like it's unfair for a team that is continuously working on their initial products to not make any profit from the same products. I'm kind of liberal when it comes to these things, so that's how I tend to think. But your point is absolutely crucial too. The revenue shouldn't come solely from royalties. There should absolutely be other ways an NFT project can sustain itself. And as you've said, the zero royalties conversation probably made a lot of teams realize that haven't realized that before.
Yeah, the looming threat of zero royalties was enough to get the gears in your brain going. And I think that's what the space truly needs. Yeah. In addition to the bear market forces and everything, it's a good little wake-up call for us to truly prepare for what's to come.
Absolutely.
And that's all for today's video, guys. Thank you so much for joining us today, Berries.
Thank you. It was great being here. Let's do this again sometime.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. If you want to see more of our content, make sure you like the video and subscribe to our channel. This is Ice signing off, and I'll see you guys in the next one.